You feel more than ever like a burden or a reward to her. It's virtually impossible for you to see what value you could possibly offer to her in return. Worst of all, this nagging fear has made you feel more self-conscious than ever, withdrawing ever inwards, and you've started to pull away even from Alex herself. What do? Very depressed? Okay. I only have 2 options this time. Oh god. You know, despite the bad times, your girlfriend sincerely loves you. Relationships are... Oh, this is continued. Are a two-way street, and you resolve to always be there for her like she has been for you. Can't do that. Tell Alex how important she is to you. Enjoy your evening. Can't do that. Ask Alex if she's happy with your relationship. Whoa. That is something you don't want to do. Don't say anything. You're already worried about her being upset with you. I would say number 4, don't say anything. Because asking if she's happy is just a road you don't want to go down. So I'm gonna pick that one. This is far from the first time you would have had this conversation with her, and it's one that plays out the same way every time. You explain your fears about being worthless. She tries to tell you that she doesn't see you that way. You insist that she's biased or just being nice to you because she's your girlfriend, and she gets frustrated. It never resolves. Nothing new is ever said, and rarely do you feel reassured by it. Occasionally, she tries to broach the subject, trying to discover why you feel like this about yourself. This always makes you feel nervous. You're sometimes convinced that the only reason she's still with you is because she doesn't know how awful you really are. As time has gone on, you've gotten more comfortable trying to express bits and pieces of your insecurities to her, but it still causes you to feel very on guard, and it's not a conversation you can have for too long without worrying you're going to scare her away. The weight of an unspoken, unresolved issue in your relationship joins you in the room for a little while, but you dare not pick at it for the rest of the night. It's a breezy Sunday afternoon. You've allowed Amanda, an old friend from school that is in town for the weekend, to talk you into leaving the house for coffee and catch up. Meet her in a small cafe and talk about what you've been up to since you've last seen each other, and you can't help but feel like there's a lot more accomplished. They are a lot more accomplished and interesting than you are while listening to them talk about their life at school. When it's your turn to brief them on your activities, you feel anxious and ashamed and give a very abbreviated version. You try to talk about your job as little as possible, and you feel incredibly boring while you describe it despite her expressing sincere interest in you and your life. Amanda has known you long enough to read your mood and tone of voice. She leans in to ask a question while gently touching your hand, a look of genuine concern on her face. What's wrong? Suggest a change of location and confide in her honestly. Can't do that. Test the waters. Open up a little, hoping she'll understand. Insist that nothing is wrong and change the subject. Defensively ask what she means by that. Notice that your hands are shaking. So I don't know at this point. Like, I've kind of gone along to what I would have done, what I would do, but I don't know if I should do that or continue or start on the path of what a depressed person would do. Like I said, I have a lot of experience with that, so I don't know. I think I'm just gonna stick with what I would do, and I would notice that my hands are shaking above all else. Such a small question, but it feels like a blow to the gut. You surprise yourself when you realize that your tightly clenched fists are now beginning to shake slightly. Despite your best efforts, you feel tears being sting at your eyes. You try to disguise this by tilting your head up and praying that they'll suck back in. So he suggests that you two get out of here, and you feel mortified. She offers to go back to your apartment with you, but the two of you end up talking in her car for 2 hours as the words just pour forth from you. Amanda seems unsure of what to say at times, but she listens and rubs her back as you sob and talk. She asks if you've gone to a doctor about this. You admit that you haven't. She mentions that her mother is seeing a very good therapist in town and offers to ask her about it. You're not thrilled about the idea of going to see a therapist, and even less thrilled that Amanda might be telling someone about your problems, but she persists and tells you she'll email you the doctor's contact information later in the week. A glaring Sunday morning. I love these descriptions of the day every single time with an adjective. It's a glaring Sunday morning, one of the few days that your brother Malcolm is in town and free long enough for you two to actually see each other. You have a dental appointment that day, but you make plans, for him to pick you up afterwards. Your appointment takes a little longer than expected because your dentist tells you that you've started grinding my teeth. You've started grinding your teeth in your sleep to a worrying degree. Given how nearly everything in your life has been feeling enormous and stressful lately, this doesn't come to you as a surprise. She suggests that you try to reduce your stress levels and fits you for a night guard. It feels awkward and way too big for your mouth, and you feel embarrassed looking at your puffed out face in the mirror with it in. You finish up the appointment in a hurry and leave about a half an hour overdue for meeting your always punctual brother in the parking lot. You finish up as quickly as possible and leave the building to scan the parking lot for your brother's car, but you don't see his old Civic anywhere. You pass by a blue Camaro, and jump as it beeps at you, causing you to jump in surprise. It takes you a moment to realize it, but it's Malcolm in the driver's seat. You hop in the passenger seat and compliment him on his new ride, and he mentions that it's a perk of a promotion he's recently obtained at work. He starts telling you about how much more money he's making, how his career is really taking off, how he's starting to look at houses with his wife soon. You clutch the bag containing the night guard in your hand and feel off to yourself, clench your teeth as you think of your crummy apartment and how long it's been since you've been able to take a day off of work without having to worry about making ends meet. He's only 2 years older than you, but it feels like he's eons ahead of you in every other aspect of your life. So he asks, how did your appointment go? Did you get drilled full of holes or what? A sense of shame creeps over you. I have not changed. Alright. Laugh about your dirty night guard with your brother. Can't do that. Tell him that your night guard and why you need it. No. Why? Tell him it was a routine cleaning. Yeah. Right. Tell him about your tooth grinding problem, but not the stress causing it. I'd probably just say it was routine. Yeah. Just cleaning. Your voice trails off as you stare at the passenger side window, head resting on your hands. There's a brief silence and you can feel your brother's eyes upon you. That freaks me out whenever people are staring at me and I'm not looking in their direction or looking at them. It's so unnerving. You hear him take a breath, preparing to say something, then hesitate. Though you may not be exceptionally close anymore, you know that he could tell you're holding back something. You brace yourself for probing questions you really don't have the energy to answer. Hey, why don't we get something fancy for dinner? My treat. You feel like a little kid again, being looked after by your big brother. A part of you prickles up and feels pathetic for this, but the large part of you that is stressed out, exhausted, and grateful for the comfort of the family. Malcolm never presses you further that night, takes your mind off things for a while. Alright, I haven't changed. Okay. It's a dry Sunday morning. You grab your morning coffee and scoot your rapidly growing kitten off your office chair, and despite her protests, there needs to be a space there. Sit down at your desk to check your email. A new message pops up in your inbox almost as soon as you do. It's from Amanda. You remember her meeting in the cafe and awkwardly bringing up your feelings to her. Hey buddy, hey, sorry, it's been a few weeks. I meant to get to this to you sooner. No, I didn't say hey Siri. No, hey, no, stop. Sorry, it's been a few weeks. I meant to get this to you sooner, but it took a while for me to get a hold of my folks back home. Dad told me to say hi, by the way. Anyways, I remember that we talked about last time I saw you, and I hope you aren't insulted. But I asked my mom for the number for her therapist. Don't worry, I didn't tell her who it was for. I think she's worried about me though now. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, the number is that, and it's really good office. You should look into it. Talking to someone never hurts, except when it does. If you're worried about money, don't be. They're one of the few that has really good sliding scale fee system and won't charge you for what you can't afford. I hope you're feeling better. It was really nice to see you again. Hey. It's still early enough that you could call and make an appointment today. Kate curls up in your lap as you consider what to do. Call the therapist number. You're looking forward to the help you think they can offer. Ha, that's funny. Try your luck and call the number. Even though the mere thought of talking to someone makes you anxious, she cared enough to send it to you after all. Sleep on it and see how you're feeling in the morning. You're not keen on the idea at all, but you don't want to disappoint Amanda. Close the email without thinking more of it. This has been embarrassing enough already. I would put the number in my phone and then stare at the phone in my hand and then feel anxious because the mere thought of talking to someone makes me anxious, and she's scared because everyone's different. Like, some people don't like talking to answering machines and they like talking to people more when they call people on the phone. I'm the opposite. Like, if I don't have to fucking talk to people and just leave a message, that's great. There's just less time for them to waste my time. I'm gonna sleep on it. The thought of picking up the phone and calling someone about this right now is overwhelming. Sure, you're having a hard time lately and have motivation issues, but are you really in need of therapy? Shouldn't you be able to just get over it? What if they put you on medication that makes you feel like a zombie? What if you go and the therapist looks down on you? Well, Alex, think about this. Trying to think of all these things at once makes it feel like a very big deal, and you decide to take your time to think on it. The rest of the day passes quickly, and that night you have a hard time trying to sleep because your brain is too busy thinking about all these things. It's hard to get any rest that night. Next morning you check your email again with blurry eyes and a meowing kitten. Anna's email is still there, seemingly waiting for you. You are no more decided than you were yesterday. I have not changed. Just call it already. Can't hurt to check it out. Call after wrestling with it for a few minutes longer. Don't call. This is way too much for you to be able to deal with right now. I think I'm still gonna call though. Read through Amanda's email 2 or 3 times, then sit and stare at your computer for a while. While the memory of that uncomfortable conversation makes you feel newly embarrassed and self-conscious, part of you is also encouraged by the fact that she cared enough to get back to you at all. Sitting in front of your computer, you start to question things like whether or not Amanda sent you this number out of pity, or perhaps some sense of obligation after having listened to you. You question her motives and the validity of her concern, and whether or not you think seeing the therapist would even be helpful. My thoughts exactly. Yet, almost unconsciously, you reach for the phone and before you realize what's happening, you're listening to the therapist's line ring. Before you can bring yourself to hang up, listening to the slightly clinical but not unpleasant voice of the receptionist ask, how can she help you? I'd like to make an appointment with the doctor. You manage to stammer out. The conversation is quick and not nearly as unpleasant as you were fearing. Quicker than you can say, Freudian slip, you've scheduled an appointment. Quicker than you realize, appointment day rolls around. What do? Go to the therapist's office. That's it. Alright, I am depressed. My mood is... I am slightly better. Head to the therapist's office even though you're totally unsure of what to expect. Sit in your car terrified and try to talk yourself into /out of going. Just the thought of going to your appointment ties your stomach in knots. You crawl back into bed. I would probably sit in my car. Wait, so if I had to take the bus and walk places, and all of a sudden now I have a car, why didn't I just take the car to begin with? You sit in the driver's seat of the car for several minutes trying to decide what to do. You think of all the help that this could allegedly offer you, and worry desperately about disappointing Amanda if you don't go. Yet at the same time, the other fear of having to talk to a complete stranger about those things is paralyzing. You worry about sounding whiny and melodramatic, or that the therapist will be mean, that she won't understand what you're trying to say. You worry that people will find out that you'll be seen as defective somehow. You sit in the driver's seat of your car for several minutes trying to decide what to do. While you are terrified of seeming melodramatic or defective, more than anything else you're terrified of disappointing Amanda and not going. While you still aren't sure if her concern is genuine or not, she still took the time out to send this information to you. And the thought of her accepting disappointment, the look on her face, on her sad but knowing face that you've seen too many others before, is itself motivation enough for you. You start the car and drive to the therapist. I am moderately depressed. You find it hard to focus on anything because you get very physically and mentally exhausted very quickly. I guess that's a step up? I don't know. You have your first session with your new therapist, Dr. Susan Melville, a tall woman in her mid-40s with a disarming demeanor and patient eyes at the start of the slightest smile lines. She makes you feel comfortable fairly easy, which is a pleasant surprise after all your anxiety over the appointment. As you lead lead. As you leave, you make a second appointment. You're still skeptical about all of this,